السلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سهلا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم إلى نور الفهم وأكرمنا بمعرفة العلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين. اللهم ربنا بارك لنا في جمعنا هذا، اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مباركا مرحوما، واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما، ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم بارك لنا في أعمالنا وفي أعمالنا وفي أرزاقنا وفي أهلنا وذوينا وأحبابنا. احفظ اللهم أولادنا وبناتنا وأولاد المسلمين. اللهم أصلح أحوالنا وأحوال ذوينا وأحبابنا. اللهم ثبتنا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة. اللهم ثبتنا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة. اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب من يحبك وحب كل عمل يقربنا إلى حبك، واجعل محبتك ومحبة نبيك محبة تنجينا بها يوم الدين. Oh Allah, we call upon you, we praise you, we beseech you, we ask you by names and attributes to make us guided and steadfast upon the right path. Fill our hearts with your abundant mercy, fill our homes with your abundant mercy, guide us and our children and our families. We ask you, O Allah, to bless us to see truth as truth is and bless us to follow it, and to see falsehood as falsehood is and bless us to avoid it. We ask you, Allah, to protect us and to protect our children from misguidance and from the influence of the shaitan and from the influence of all those who will misguide them away from your path. We ask you, Allah, to protect our homes and to fill our homes with your rahmah, with tranquility, with peace, with your angels. We ask you, Allah, to make our homes spaces of dhikr and ibadah, and to make our masjid a space for family and community and growth. Make our children love the masjid. Oh Allah, bless our children to love the masjid. Oh Allah, bless our children to love the Quran. Oh Allah, bless our children to love your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Oh Allah, bless us to teach our children the values and the guidance and the principles that are needed for them to endure in life and to stay steadfast upon Islam, and make the best of our actions, the list of our actions, and the best of our old days, the day we meet you and you are pleased with us, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ameen, ameen, wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Amma ba'd, welcome everybody. Parents and children to the masjid and to this special event. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to put barakah in this hour that we have together, and to bless us to connect with one another in our journey to Allah. Inshallah, we're going to be discussing a lot of different things relating to parenting in this discussion of ours with our beloved Ammu Fikry. And before we actually give the framing and the idea behind this talk, I'm going to pass it over to Akhi Ibrahim to share a few announcements and just to give you an idea of what to expect in the setup, inshallah.
Barakallahu feek, Shaykhna. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feekum for joining us today. Just a quick reminder, we have the Slido up just like we do on Fridays. It's QR code, you can scan it on your camera or any app, and then pulls up all of the questions. If you see a question you like, you can thumbs up, you can like the question, or if you have a question yourself, you can ask it anonymously. We'll get through the questions that are most liked and most relevant, inshallah. So please try to keep the questions on topic. Also, just an overview about Community Hub for those of you who are first-timers or for those of you who may not know. The idea of the Community Hub here is to have an event that brings us closer to the masjid as families, and really harps on the idea that the family bond is important, and the family bond through the Islamic sphere, through the masjid sphere, is very, very crucial. Because without it, we don't have anything. So as you see, we have an event here that helps us as parents and as elders learn and continue our relationship with the masjid and relationship with Islam. And then we have a program downstairs for the kids to encourage them to come more to the masjid and to encourage us as families to come to the masjid. So today it's a lecture, and later there will be time for pizza and mingling and talking. But in other events, we have other things that we do. We've had a trivia night, which was alhamdulillah a huge success around a month ago. We've had a community brunch with the parents and the kids. We've done activities with the kids that they get to do with their parents. So alhamdulillah, we have a lot of exciting initiatives that we do for the Community Hub to bring the parents and the kids closer to the masjid, and to make the kids really understand that I love the masjid. I want to come here. I want to see my friends. Mama, Baba, we all come here. We learn, we have fun, we eat, we play, and everything. Inshallah, we grow this bond and we continue it further. And then of course after the kids get older, we have the youth programs and we have the young adults programs, and we have, alhamdulillah, we're trying to establish a lot of continuity here. We have classes, we have lectures. Inshallah, Sheikh Osamah is very busy, alhamdulillah, with all the classes, barakallah fi. So with that said, I'll let the Sheikh and Ammu Fikry start about the topic. Where do we begin? How do we start to think about, parenting here? Tfaddal.
Jazakallah khair, Akhi Ibrahim, barakallah feek. I want to emphasize, we don't want this to be just a straight up lecture. We really want to hear from you guys. So if you're not familiar with technology, as I know some parents aren't, all you need to do is scan this with your camera. If you scan it with your camera, you're going to be able to post things on Slido. And you're going to be able to see what other people post, and you could vote for it. What question do you want us to focus on? When it comes to parenting, there's no way that we could discuss everything in an hour or in 10 hours. There's just so much to discuss, but we want to talk about what's most important to you. And by design, we have this discussion format here, so we could get differing viewpoints. We have our beloved Ammu Fikry. Ammu Fikry, you could hold the microphone over there if you want. Ammu Fikry is someone dear to us all. He's a father for the community. So you have the perspective of someone who's a lot younger. I'm a young parent myself, and I also have the pleasure of dealing with many of your kids. I've seen some of the kids that I actually see in the high school that I go to. I go to 2 high schools, Islamic schools, and deal with children there, and just through the different counseling. And then we have someone like Ammu Fikry. Ammu Fikry, and how many years of parenting experience you have? Well, tell us, man.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
A lot.
You have children? You have grandchildren?
Yeah.
The great-grandchildren? Yes. Lissa?
No, not yet.
Not yet, inshallah. Very soon, great-grandchildren. So we have a lifetime of experience with us, and I think if there's anything that comes with parenting is it's a journey of experience. There's no way that you could have it all figured out from day one, and I think every parent realizes this. I need to go through a lot of growth and a lot of mistakes along the way. Wallahu a'lam. So, I think what I'll do, Ammu Fikry, is I'll just give a general overview, and then I'll pass it over to you if you could give us some ideas based on that. And again, I'm hoping that this general overview will trigger your thoughts. What can we talk about when it comes to parenting? We could talk about understanding the stage. What age demographic am I talking about? Am I talking about teenagers? That's its own beast in itself. Am I talking about my children who are transitioning to adulthood and independence, college students? That's another discussion. Am I talking about young children? Right? That's understanding the stage. Understanding the frame of mind and how your children think. I think this is one of the biggest challenges, is understanding how your children think. How do they see the world? And the reason why it's so difficult is as your years go on, as we get older, we forget how simple life was when we were in our children's place, in our children's world, right? So that's another point, understanding their frame of mind. Another thing is understanding their influencers. What influences our children? How can I instill character? How can I raise a leader? What's really important to put in my child? How does low self-esteem affect kids? How can I train my child to become a decision maker? These, I think, are things that every parent who cares about their child's upbringing thinks about. Communicating with love. How can I communicate with love? Right? Why is that so important? Why is having children a blessing? I know before they're born, we might realize this blessing. Do I still see them as a blessing? Moving on, why is it important to realize that? How do we learn values? How do our children learn values? How do my actions impact my kids? These are all discussion points. How can I address rebellion when my children are rebelling against me? How do I deal with that? How do I balance consequence and reward? What are the dangers when my children have a weak personality? When they have low self-esteem, what are the dangers there? And much more to add to that. And what are some practical life experiences along in the process that hopefully we can benefit from? So those are just, Ammu Fikry, just some general, guidelines to start the discussion. And I don't know if you have anything to add or how you would like to start. Please feel free. Jazakumullah khair, Ammu Fikry.
If I don't have anything to add, well, I'm here.
I know you have a lot to add, Ammu Fikry.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. I think we should start by saying that we as parents should change our software in such a way that our priority has to start being adjusted. How? This is the most important project. Like if at this stage in my life, I have so many people that aggravated me and so many projects that took much of my time. But at this point, I don't remember the project or even the people that bothered me. What I remember is I have children and grandchildren, and this is my most important project. So we have the mean and the goal. The goal is raise a family to become شجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. That's your goal, right? If you allow the mean, الوسيلة, which is earning, living, and this kind of thing, to become priority, you woke up at one point and say like, I made major mistakes. I can give you tons of a story about father. Some of them come to this masjid, they come and tell me, I think I lost my children, now I need your help, whatever it is. Ammu, how old is your children? 24 and 26. It's too late, right? Either you woke up early enough and you say like, my children are my priority. This is my extension. I'll be in the grave and the dividends coming to me because of my children that I told them 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that has to be clear as parent. There's an ayah that says, أَفَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى تَقْوًى مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٍ خَيْرٌ أَمْ مَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى شَفَا جُرْفٍ هَارٍ فَانْهَارَ بِهِ فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمٍ. Just let me go quickly over this. Each one of us, bunyan means structure, building, right? We have so many buildings that we build through our career until we leave this life, right? But the bunyan that does not end in this dunya is the spouse and the children. And that's it. That is the most important project that does not end in this life, right? Your career, your business, your office, your house, all this will disappear, right? It will mean nothing. Either you leave it or it leaves you. That's a fact. But what does not leave you or leave it is that your offspring, your spouse that will make dua for you, your children that will be so and so and so. So the first issue is you really have to change your priority in life. This is, to me, the most important advice. I wish, like today, when Sheikh Osamah was asking me to prepare a certain issue. So I looked at what's being written about raising children. I saw a huge, written by Muslims and non-Muslim, but a lot. And I said, like, when I was raising my children when they were little, I wish I put that much efforts, right? So if, inshallah, when we, during the night, if we gonna say something about my personal experience, it will be from wrong things I did or partially good things that I did. Okay, Sheikh Osamah? It's fair enough, right?
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair. Allah barik feek. I think those words, each one of them has a lot of weight to them. And, I guess the only thing I would add to that, Ammu Fikry, is, when it comes to having a willingness to redo our software or reprogram ourselves, it comes with a realization that I as a parent am not perfect. I think, from what I've seen, one of the scariest things that creates a disconnect between parents and children is when there's an unwillingness to admit fault, wrongdoing, an unwillingness to listen to children. It actually triggers a lot of rebellion. When parents go about dealing with their kids as though they have everything figured out, it can cause a lot of friction, especially as the kids get more and more older. They're going to feel suppressed. Whereas if I really want to develop a decision maker, it reminds me, Ammu Fikry, of the ayah, فَانظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. It reminds me of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and Sayyidina Ismail. Brilliance in the Quran. He received a form of communication from Allah to sacrifice his son. And he knows that this is a command from Allah. He has to do it. But he didn't want to do it without his son being on board. So what did he do? He asked it to him in question format. He gave him the opportunity to submit alongside him. So I think, a parent being willing to show vulnerability is actually a doorway to a lot of goodness. I don't know if you would say, what would you say about this, Ammu Fikry? But I think vulnerability is key, and vulnerability would include listening to the kid, listening to their ideas, having a willingness to let them make decisions under your supervision, and actually willing to give and take with them. Wallahu alam. Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just to brag about myself for a second. Right. My daughter, Dr. Dalia, was giving a speech in Canada, and after the speech, Dr. Abdullah Idris, who was a great da'iyah, one of the old-timers that has been making da'wah for so long in America and Canada, he went to her and she said, I learned something from your father. That's a good one, right? So she said what? He said that when you were little, you came to him during a convention in Chicago, and you talked to him, and he kept listening to you with respect, and then talked to you, and then you talked back to him, whatever it is. And I said, I have not done this to my own daughter. He said, from that scene, I went and had a discussion with my daughter, and I changed my attitude towards Beshabit. I'm sorry. Yeah, and that used to be his concept. He became listening and talking and so on. All right? I'm not saying I'm a great father, but you know what? I encourage every child to tell me, to challenge me, right? I remember one of them coming to me and saying, if you say Islam is good, how come the Muslim countries are the most backward, right? So I had that. I had that with my children, and this is something that you really have to take it seriously, that respect. Show them respect. Just to give you a quick example. Sheikh, what's his name? Sheikh Hanut Allah Arhamu gave 2 khutbah, 2 Friday speeches about hadith. بس يلا بآيات. طيب. He gave a speech about explaining the hadith. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas was sitting behind the Prophet in the horse, or whatever it is, and he was saying to him, يا غلام إني أعلمك كلمات فاحفظهن احفظ الله يحفظك احفظ الله. It's a long hadith, but very deep. And I said to myself, how can Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam give that kind of deep hadith to a child who is about 9 years old? Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas was 9 years old. But look, the way he dealt with him, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas was Habr al-Ummah, one of the greatest scholars of all time, right? And that's not the only thing. Look at the Prophet when he has the most difficult moment in his life, when his wife was accused of committing haram, and he was beside himself. He decided to consult with who? 2 young guys, Osamah and Sayyidina Ali. Right? That cannot be fake. It has to be deep. It has to be deep respect for both of them, right? And when he was close to death, right, and he knows that his time is over, who did he put on top of the army? Sayyidina Osamah. How old was he? about 17.
Yeah.
Right. About 17 years old. We still teach our children, he's still صغير, he's still too young. He's only 33, you know? No, come on. We need to start thinking about respect from early age and keep going in this direction.
Jazakallah khair, Ammu Fikry. By the way, you guys know the hadith that Ammu Fikry just mentioned? It's a very well-known hadith. I would hope that a good number of you know it. The hadith of Ibn Abbas when he rode with the Prophet ﷺ. How many of you guys know this hadith? Ya ghulam inni u'allimuka kalimat. Oh young boy, I teach you words. Raise your hand high if you know the hadith. Raise your hand high. A few of you. We need to know this hadith. This hadith shows us how the Prophet ﷺ took children very seriously. And that's exactly why these children became men and women very quickly. You know, the more I pamper my children, or if I pamper my children and don't take them seriously, then it's a very good chance that I'm going to set them up for all kinds of failures in their life. And this is a very scary thing. You know, I don't know what advice you have for this, Ammu Fikry, but raising a leader is something that should be front and center in every parent's mind. We learn from the Prophet ﷺ how he was so brilliant in doing that. Ammu Fikry gave the example of Sayyidina Osamah bin Zayd. Raising a leader. How can my son, my daughter be a leader? You know, if I don't think like this, then what's going to happen is when I'm not in the picture, my children won't know how to make the good decisions that they need to stay upon their deen. We're always worried as parents about friends and what friends might influence our children with. But if my children have the emotional balance, have the confidence, have the self-esteem, have the understanding of their identity, then when I'm not around, they'll be able to function. When someone comes and tries to dissuade them with drugs or with a haram relationship or with some other thing as they grow up and become older. Now, I ask this question in some of the khutbah before that I give about the rights of children. The children have a lot of rights. And our deen spells this out. And inshallah we could get into this a little bit. But what I as a parent need to ask myself, am I the first experience of trauma for my kids? Sometimes the answer to this question is yes. And that's very tragic, wallahi. Traumatized by what? Emotional disturbance, insecurity, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and the list goes on. This is the product of trauma. And there's a lot of things that contribute to this. May Allah protect us from it. You know, Ibrahim, I don't know, Ammu Fikry, do you have any comments on this before we take some questions with them? About building a leader. You know, what do you think? What do you think is top? Front and center in building a leader in your kid?
Honestly, I think each one of us, especially on both sides, should realize that without Allah's help, you're not going to do anything.
Subhanallah.
Right? I know some, Sheikh Ali, Dr. Ali from Masjid al-Huda, every time I'm going to Umrah, he said, like, please make dua for my children. Make dua for, there is something about if Allah is not with you, right? And the best way to have Allah on your side is humiliate yourself. Ya Allah, I'm weak. Without your help, I cannot do anything, right?
Subhanallah.
Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he used to put his little baby and pray tahajjud. And he say, Ya Allah, I'm making tahajjud that you help me with the baby to become so and so and so, right? So the first thing, and to me is extremely important to know, is not how good you are. It is Allah's help that is going to make the difference. So the first thing is really keep making dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, take care of my children. Ya Allah, guide them to put that much love in their heart for your deen. You keep humiliating yourself in every salah, after every salah. All the scholars, رَبْ هَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً يَا رَبْ يَا هَبْ لِهَا. This is, as Sheikh Osamah said in the beginning, al-hiba is just a very good gift from Allah. Children is a very good gift. It's much more than any, some people will give them $1 billion and the child says, I will take the child, right? But if this is a gift, then then realize that I have to do my homework, and also I have to understand that being a humble servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keep doing supplication, raising my hand with dua, inshallah, you're going to get the help. All right? Type. Sayyidina Zakaria, when he was given the assignment to take care of Sayyidah Maryam, right? He came once and he saw what? He saw fruits that is not from the season and not from the area either. So he said, Anna laki hadha. Where did you get this from? Right? You know what this Anna laki hadha, or where did you get this from? To me, it's a crucial thing that as a parent, you have to be on top of every little thing that's happening in the house. You have to really know why this here? Where did it come from? How did you get that, right? Some parents will, you see that his son or his daughter has iPhone 14. 14 is the last one?
14.
Type. iPhone 14, and he doesn't ask where you get it from, right? يعني think. You cannot be heedless and assume that inshallah everything is fine. No, I know my children, they are beautiful. No,
I have the best kids in the world.
No?
I have the best kids in the world.
Yeah. And he doesn't know what's happening, right? I was going over the internet to listen to Muslim and non-Muslim, what is the fundamental things. Quickly, I saw 7 things. I'm not going to discuss it, just say the headline, and then you do whatever you want to do, Sheikh.
Hadir.
The first thing is you have to be the best example. Kids, by definition, loves parents. They love their parents, and they will imitate their parents. They will pray without wudu. They will be, even the diaper has to be changed, but they will pray behind you because my dad is praying and my mom is praying, so I pray. So take this seriously, that you have to be a good example. If you lie once, if you get a phone call and you tell your daughter, just tell her mom is not here, right? Then don't expect that she will ever be anything but a liar too, because the best example lied, right? So this is something that you have to be rearing children by the best example. Right?
We're telling our children don't smoke with the cigarette in our hands.
If you see your parents all the time civilized with each other, very polite, when the father talked to the mother and he said like, if you would you have all these nice things, he will grow up to respect his mother and respect future wife too, right? And the other way around, if the mother showing, astaghfirullah, Shaykh Osamah, I was watching one of these clips, so the kid, they asking him, they're putting so many animals. He say, what is this? Bird. What is this? Fish. What is this? مش عارف ايه. And came to a donkey. He said, what is this? He said, Baba. Right? Means what? His mother jokingly said that, right? Then what do you expect? What kind of respect he's going to have for his father, right? So
wow.
the mutual respect.
That's a tough one.
Right? And so many, wallahi, this is all, we're all guilty. We make fun of the wife, or the wife make fun of the husband in front of the children. If you destroy the image of one of them, then big loss without you knowing it. The third thing is called tarbiyah al-imaniyya. If you do not attach everything that he sees and does to Allah, for example, alhamdulillah, Allah give us so and so. My son, Sheikh Yasser, he went to visit Jordan, and the lady that was doing the cooking, he said, Baba, she put some salt, Bismillah. She put mishaf some Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. She put mishaf and the food becomes so delicious because everything is Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. But that is true. But there's something more than that. any child who get programmed Bismillah, MashaAllah, la hawla wa quwwata illa billah, shuf wallahi, MashaAllah, yani all this kind of thing, everything from Allah, what Allah is, this is that. This kind of behavior, right, it is cultivated in the heart of the child from an early age, right? So, the rain, the Sayyidina Muhammad said so and so. The thunder, the Quran says so and so. That we should have anything connected to until the kids grow up to have this beautiful software of Allah, Day of Judgment, Jannah, Nar, and so on.
So you're basically saying our reactions, Ammu Fikry, our children pick up on our reactions. Is that what you're saying? So if our reactions are all good and dhikr and positive things, it's one thing. What if it's curse words, anger, rage, and so on and so forth? It's another thing entirely.
And honestly, I don't remember ever in my life that my parents was upset with each other or said something. Yeah, and I grew up, even after my father died when I was about 13, and my mother had the same respect. Why? Because she was respected by my father, right? This was a mutual respect in the house. So you're gonna don't underestimate these little things that we do, ridiculing one of the parents. I have 4, 5, and 6, 7. The last one is to connect them with the masjid. I saw a video clip in Turkey. Actually, I was in Turkey, and every masjid has a big thing in front of the masjid, say like, a masjid that doesn't have children praying in the back has no future, right? And today, they have a habit that the imam, after the salah, especially after salat al-maghrib, he would take, the imam is leading the whole row of kids to go where? They're going to have ice cream and popcorn, right? I'm not saying do this. I'm just saying...
Ice cream and popcorn?
And
يعني مالح ملح وسكر.
Yeah, depends what you want first. Right. The scene is so beautiful. Inshallah, if I can put in the screen, I will, right? But I'm not that good with a computer. But it just was a beautiful scene, right? And the kids lying behind the imam, and this is something that, to me, if the masjid becomes something that's fun, anytime I come to the masjid, I feel welcomed. This is beautiful for the children. We had one of our brothers that is sincere, but he all the time is screaming at the kids, right? So the kids, what? They don't sit in the masjid, they go outside, right? No, we want them inside. So we have to have a welcoming atmosphere in the masjid. And if one of you guys said, like, I'll adopt this project, I will do the ice cream and have iftah for the children once a week. Well, I know it's going to be costly. Inshallah, I'll help you. But the thing is, it's a little project, but anything to make the children love to come to the masjid, this and that. And also, anything that makes the kids welcome to come to the house of Allah is beautiful. All right? Yani, try to hug them, play with them, joke with them, whatever it is, so they feel welcomed in the house of Allah. Not just to come and leave. And the third, number 6 is, don't ever be bored with their asking and whatever it is. Hey, be quiet, I'm too tired now. No, they are priority. They have to be priority number 1, right? Some parents keep giving advices, right? And picking on every mistake. Wallahi, this is one of the worst things to do for your children. Why? If you see 10 things that's wrong, just correct 2 and pretend that you don't see the other 8, right? Otherwise, the child will resent listening to you. You don't keep saying, "Haya battal ya wala, inta mish عارف إيه, that is dumb, that is wrong, that's too much of this will make the child not want to listen to you or not wanting to come to you. But ignore 8 out of 10 and correct 2. That would be very good. And I almost finished, Osamah. Just be patient.
حاضر يا مولانا حاضر خذ راحتك.
Now, Sayyidina Ali has a beautiful recipe right? The recipe says this: لاعبوهم لسبع. Play with them and the 7 years in their life. وربوهم لسبع. And discipline for the next 7. And وآخوهم لسبع. And be brotherly with them in the third 7. After this, خلاص, they're out of the picture. But here's a question. What do you mean I'm going to play with them at 7 and then the switch, go to the other 7 of discipline? No, it's not that. When you play with them when they were little, right? Can I brag about myself a bit?
تفضل عم فكري.
I used to every night give every one of my children makana. What's makana? Makana means machine. Someone wants the kicking machine. Someone wants the kissing machine. After, I make sure that when they go to sleep, they
The
sleep.
kissing machine? شو؟
Yeah. Kissing is kissing, right? Why am I doing this? It was tickling, playing with them. I want them to feel like they love their father. It's fun to be with their father. He is not boring. He's not just giving advices or reprimanding or don't do this. I don't want this, right? So, alhamdulillah, I feel that even my daughter were talking to me about very, very special private things as if like I'm a friend. I'm happy with this, and I really think it should be done by each one of us, a father or a mother, right? That has to be, I love you, we play it together, and then through the playing, I'm correcting things. You made this little mistake. I think it could be done in a nicer way, but you know what? You're still good. I'm proud of you, and so on and so. Don't be picky, right? And then you really have to be very open-eyed for who they are friendly with. They say, as-sahib sahib. The friend pulls the child in his direction, right? Sometimes you say, like, la bismillah, mashallah, my children are so good. But what do you know about the friends, right? Wallahi, because alhamdulillah, I'm involved with some young brothers and young sisters. You know what? You should pay too much attention to who are their friends are, who they are associated themselves with. Otherwise, you will wake up with a disaster happening and say, where was I? Right? You were not paying attention to who are their friends, right? And the last thing, which will be social media, right? Social media, brothers, is a cancer in their own bedroom, right? And if you are not on top of everything that they watch, and sometimes you have to watch with them. Sometimes you just develop that kind of friendly, trusting atmosphere where, okay, we can sit down and watch together, right? Eventually, they will say, they will develop the software that rejects something is bad, something is haram, I'm not comfortable with, right? This is your most important project. After this, inshallah, it will be an easy sale. When they reach 21, they will have already set and established.
صدق الله العظيم. جزاك الله خير عم فكرة. الله يبارك فيك وخلينا إياك. I think there was a lot of beautiful lessons in what Ammu Fikry had to say. For me, a lot of these lessons go back to one reality. And inshallah, we're going to take the questions right now. But before that, I think that all of these things Ammu Fikry was saying reminds us that parents mold their children. The reality helps mold my child. What I expose my child to ends up deeply impacting them far into the future. But after the mold is set, it becomes really difficult to undo it. And this is the critical point that I think instilling those things, those positives, the masjid, the dua, the prayers, also the positive reminders, gently listening to them, being open to them to give and take, all of this helps mold the child. But just like concrete, it cements, and once they become teenagers are set in certain ways, it becomes very difficult to undo those realities. And that's why there's the age-old wisdom that says, Al-wiqaya khayrun min al-ilaj. Prevention is better than needing to cure or remedy something. To make sure the problem doesn't creep in is much better than trying to resolve it after the fact. And this is the scary reality that parents have to deal with. Even sometimes subtle things that I might not realize. I might not realize how much something small might impact my child, because for me it's insignificant. I don't really care. Okay, I'm busy now. I'm tired. They need to understand. I'm exhausted. I don't want to listen to anybody right now. Right? I might not realize how deeply this might have had. That's why when the Prophet ﷺ tells us, or told Umayr, Ya Aba Umayr, ماذا فعل النغير. It shows the Prophet understood what matters to this kid and what will hurt him. Right? So Allah, that's only a point I'd like to add. I don't know, Akhi Ibrahim, if you want to, we'll take, by the way, just so I know, we do have another program that's supposed to start in a little bit, Basics of Islam. How many of you here are for Basics of Islam? If you could just raise your hand. 3, 4, 5, okay. So inshallah we'll be getting to start in a little bit. We're going to finish this program and then we'll go start that program inshallah. But I guess in the meantime, if Akhi Ibrahim, if you have any questions that came in on the Slido, if you could please share it.
Barakallah feek, Shaykh Ammu Fikry. There's a lot of questions here and they're in a lot of different topics. So we're definitely going to keep a file of all these questions and break it down into topics, and I think we'll introduce them in more because there's plenty here and unfortunately the time evades us. I'll go into one that we talked about or touched on earlier, and then we'll go into a couple of others. The first question that stands out here, how can I discipline my children in a way for them to follow the rules and not do the haram behind my back? And there's a very famous saying, it's a strict parenting creates very good liars as kids. So kids will be better at hiding things if their parents are extremely strict. So how do we avoid this? How do we develop a good relationship with our parents and parents with our children, so that they can follow the rules, understand what the lines are, and not feel like they have to do everything behind our backs?
Jazakallah khair. Look, I'm going to give a very brief because I want to get a chance to get through more questions. The brief response that I would give to this is realize that there was a journey of growth that the companions themselves, the best generation, had to grow through. People will never have everything figured out all at once. I could either make that process easier for them or more difficult for them. The way I would make it more difficult for them is by triggering their ego, by hurting by hurting them emotionally, by dismissing them. I'm going to create an obstacle within them because that's going to trigger rebellion. I love that quote that you just shared right now. But if I think that my children are expected to get it the first time around, I'm basically expecting that they're not going to be human beings. Some parents, they take a crazy approach with their kids and their schooling, right? You get 80, fashil. 85, fashil. 90, fashil. 100, fashil. Why? Their logic is, I can never make you feel like you're doing good enough because if I do, then you're not going to try harder. That's not a very good approach. It's really not a good approach to make your son or daughter always feel deficient. And we get so many kids complaining about this reality. So again, going back to that, there's a beautiful ayah. وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ. Allah tells us the pleasant, fertile land will eventually produce its fruits. Eventually! If I put the foundations right, I need to give it time. I need to water it. I need to give it a space to grow. Allah Alam. Ammu Fikry, do you have anything to add?
Not in this. But concerning that when the Prophet was passing by Nu'aym and his bird died and the kid was upset, so the Prophet asked him what happened, and he said the bird died. He sat with him, and he was in a meeting, supposedly to be in a meeting with the companion, and he was late and they had to come look for him, and he told them, sit down and pay condolences to your brother. He lost his bird, and it's a child. He had respect for his feeling. I tell you from my mistakes. One day I get my two daughters, I got them two bunnies as a pet, right? And then they grow up. Sheikh Osamah, I'm not finished with the joke yet. So, and then, I grow up to kill everything and eat, right? There's nothing called pet.
Oh.
Right? But they came from outside and they found that we're skinning the rabbits.
Oh, man.
So they looked at me as a serial killer, and for a few weeks they didn't want to even touch me, right? Why? Because I'm
You killed their bunnies.
a killer, right? And then I asked a professional. He told me what you should have, a Muslim professional. He said, what you should have done is the following. Tell them this bunny has a function in life, and if he doesn't do it, he will die and then disintegrate as something like a dead animal, and he doesn't like that. He wants to be eaten by a human because that's why Allah has created him, right? And I applied this, but it was too late, all right? The damage is done. Sometimes we have so much information in the internet to tell you how to deal with this, how to deal with tantrum, with your child throw a tantrum, how to deal with in the good old days, we have an excuse. There's no internet, there's no this, is not that. But now we have everything. So there's no excuse but not to read and get ready and be a good parent.
So the lesson is the bunnies want us to eat them, huh? The bunnies want us to eat them?
No comment. So the next question here, I am a divorced dad. How can I still be an influential Muslim father to my sons who live with their mother full time? She also manipulates them against me. Manipulates them against me. Like maybe she says things that try to pit the kids against the father.
That's a really sad reality. If anything, look, I think that it's very critical that if the husband and wife realize that they're not going to live with each other anymore, the least that they could do is not make their children part of their conflict. They should never do that. So I think my advice to you would be, you want to give me the keys? Shukran.
She should be muhajjaba, Sheikh.
She should. So the least they could do is not make their children part of their problem. I think this is really important, your ex-wife might not be willing to listen, but maybe you could try your best through good means to try to just convey to her this reality. How can you continue to be part of your children's life? Hey, keep trying with whatever means. Put any dunya aside. Look, when it comes to material things and your children, material things mean nothing. Even if you have to lose some type of financial conflict that's between you and your estranged spouse, lose it. If it means you're going to win your children. This is really important to understand, because sometimes they get court battles, back and forth, custody issues, and who gets lost in the middle? Who gets lost in between? The kids. And it's so sad. Sometimes when some dads are in your position, whoever's asking the question, they just give up. And sometimes it's the vice versa. You know what, I'm not going to even try. Khalas, that's it. Someone else will raise them. We should never have this attitude about our children. Allahu Alam. I don't know if you have something to add to that, Ammu Fikry.
لا يحيق المكر السيء إلا بأهله. The one has a devious kind of planning, he will suffer. And if she is the one who is doing this, knowing that she is harming her children and depriving them from their father, if that's what she's doing, wallahi, I saw so many examples.
They're going to do it to her.
It fired back.
They're going to do it to her tomorrow.
It fired back. For any sister that listening to this should never get into this game. All right? If you really love your children, love the best for them, and then keep the father in the picture.
Barakallahu feekum. I think
One
we do
more
have
question?
to call it.
Okay,
Because the kids are ready to go.
Oh, they're ready to go. All right. Jazakumullah khair.
Yeah, Barakallahu feekum. Just before I hand it back to the Sheikh, please, when we do call it, please go pick up your kids from the babysitting. That's the only announcement from me. And keep an eye out for all the announcements and the monthly or the weekly announcements. a lot of events. We have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. We have plenty, alhamdulillah. So we hope to keep you coming. Fadal Sheikh.
Jazakumullah khair. And definitely we hope to have a part 2 to this, because I think there's just so much that we didn't get to address, Ammu Fikry. So inshallah we'll do a part 2 to this at some point. Enjoy the pizza. Oh, it's here already, mashallah. Enjoy the pizza, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and bless your children. And may Allah Azza wa Jal bless our community. May Allah preserve us and protect us and our children, and guide us and make us steadfast upon the right path. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal 'asr, inna lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa salihat wa subhanahu wa ta'ala sabr. Anyone here for the basics of Islam class? We're going to have the class in the side room over there, inshallah. So please, you can join me now, bi'idhnillah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.